I'm going to be guiding you through the protocol of a photography project. You're going to have until next Monday, I think, to turn your project in, and your project is going to be one picture that you'll be sending to me. In the past, I have had students taking several pictures and asking me to choose one. I do not do that. That would be like asking me for an answer in a test. So please do not send me a variety of pictures asking me which one is better, because I cannot answer that question. You're going to have to use your judgment. You're going to have to use the information I've provided to you about what makes a well composed photograph and a well exposed photograph. And after you have used your judgment, you can ask other people, which one do you like more? But at the end of the day, your judgment should reign supreme. Your judgment, because you have all this knowledge, is what should guide you to choose the photo that you want to send. And that is the one that you will be submitting to me. And I will evaluate your photograph depending on the different criteria that we have established. So let's go through this presentation. If you have any questions, now's the moment for you to ask them as we go through this presentation. You know that for the last couple of weeks or more, we've been talking about terms that you probably never heard before, things like composition, things like exposure, things like depth of field, bokeh, texture, patterns, line, the rule of division of thirds, all kinds of different concepts that you have been learning. And the reason why we've been talking about all of this is because now comes the time where you have to apply what you have learned. This is not a class where you bottle up stuff and then you forget about it like with many classes. Here, you'll be using this knowledge and we'll be referring to it constantly because it is part of the process of creating film. So now we're going from words to actions. You're going to compose a photograph. What about anything that you want? That is not you. Maybe you're a pro with selfies. We don't want selfies. I'm not a big fan of selfies. There's a big wide world out there beyond yourself, and you have to appreciate the world around you, and you need to explore the world around you, and you need to find beauty in this world around you. Beauty wherever you can find it. And sometimes your imagination will most likely lead you to that beauty that is out there in this universe that God created. So you're going to take a photograph of any subject matter. It's going to be your choice, and that photograph has to be in my inbox because this is not a reshoot. This is something you will be sending to my inbox, to my email by September 28th. Yes, Ms. Hayashi. Ms. Hayashi, you had a question? Yeah, I'm recording this lesson. But if you want to, I don't think it's really necessary because it's all written in black and white. But you can help yourself, suit yourself and want to watch this lesson. Go ahead. That's why it's being recorded. Okay, so the project should be sent by September 28th. I'm not stressing the before. I'm not interested in you sending the photograph before the 28th. But if you're done and you want to send it, by all means, send it. But I'm not rushing you. I'm not saying do this quickly because no. Take your time, the time that you're given, use it wisely, and you have until September 28th to turn that work in. Later on, it's a project that is part of your portfolio. Right now, this semester, this is the biggest chunk of the grade of the portfolio. Okay, no, this is not reshoot. No, this is not reshoot at all. Yes, yes. So anything that you want to use as a subject is allowed, of course, following societal standards of decency and good taste, right? Um, so the one exception that I am making is no selfies. Okay, that's not going to be allowed. I just wanted to. This is the first time I clarify it because there is such an abundance of selfies out there, and most of the experience that of photography that students have to do with taking selfies, and that's something we do not want. We will not allow that for this project. I thought it's something else. Now, the photo that you're taking has to evidence what you have learned. One of the things that we said that is highly desirable in any image is bokeh. So guess what? I want to see bokeh in your picture. I told you how to achieve it. I asked you to experiment for the last since the last week. I've been telling you start taking pictures, start experimenting. We want to see bokeh in your picture. The other thing is that we want to see the application of the rule of thirds. Does anybody have any doubt regarding the rule of thirds? Right now, this picture that you're seeing here has bokeh, but it's not applying the rule of thirds. It's not. And it works. It works, but your picture must have the rule of thirds. Um, in addition to that, I want to see at least one of the elements of composition that I taught you. The elements of composition include patterns, symmetry, texture, lines, and depth of field. I want to see at least one of those elements in the picture. Of course, I don't want to see, I don't want to see all of them because that would not look nice. It would be like super busy and grotesque. But if you want to use one or two elements in a photo, then by all means, do so. We need to see that. And the format of your photograph should be either a JPEG or a JPG. Anything that is digital is presented in a certain format. For example, if you do something, if you let me give you an example. If you do something on Word, uh, the format would be doc. If you do something on PowerPoint, the format will be PTT or PPTX. If you have an audio file, those of you that don't download music, the most common audio files are MP3s or ACCs. And there are others like FLAC, IIC. There are many. And with images, there are several formats. You got the JPEG, you got the JPE, you got the GIF or GIF, you got the PNG. There are many formats, but the most common are these two, JPEG and JPG. Start making film. Film also has its format. The most common format that is used nowadays is the MP4. Okay, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, so let's move on because we're talking about the project. Okay, how are you delivering this project? It has to be identified with your name, like everything. Everything has to be like with your name stamped on it. There's no way around that. It must have the date and it must have your homeroom number. You guys are 8 online, and accompanying this photograph, you must send a paragraph explaining your composition and exposure choices and the reason why you chose that particular theme or subject for your picture. Like why it inspired you. And noted that I said a paragraph. I don't want you guys writing a book or pages. A paragraph will suffice. You guys have to make sure that you're brief and to the point. Don't start beating around the bushes. Very quickly tell me, I use this element. I chose this because of this and this reason, and I tried it to be. I tried to work on it being not as overexposed as underexposed. And what I just explained stuff in one paragraph. Ms. Hill, you had a question. Uh, As many as are necessary, with it being a paragraph, with it still being a paragraph. Any other question? No questions. You have to what? Oh, no, you have to send me one photo. You can take as many pictures as you want to. Okay, but you will send me one photo. I'm assuming that with everything that you've learned, that I've taught you, when you look at pictures now, you look at pictures differently. You don't look at pictures the same way, right? Okay, but because well, so when we look at when we learn something, it changes the way we look at things. And when I learned photography, I didn't look at pictures the same way anymore. Now, okay, well, there's a composition issue here. There's some exposures issue there. So because I learned, right? And I'm expecting the same thing from you guys. Now you look at it differently. Now you have more information. So your choices and your opinions are more informed now. So that should make for better choices from your part, right? Mr. Perez, you have something to say? Yeah. Um, that is a very good question. And I think that you should send me one email. And in that one email, we have the JPEG or JPE, okay? And we have a PDF with that paragraph. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Thank you for the question, sir. That was a good question. It helps clarify some things. Try exploring different things. Any other question, guys? That was a good question, Julian. Thank you. So, what's the value of this project? It's 75 points that are going for your portfolio grade, and we're gonna make a little competition here in the class. I'm gonna look at all your pictures, and I'm gonna choose my three favorite. The top one will get a 25-point bonus. The second best one, which is the first runner up, gets a 20-point bonus. And the third one, which is the second runner up, will get a 15-point bonus. So, how's that for an incentive? That's a big chunk of money right there, right? So, 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 you take your photo with whatever you have, madam, because I cannot ask you to use something you don't have access to. If it's, I cannot tell you you have to take a picture of a Nikon camera if it's not available. If you have a DSLR or a mirrorless camera or a point and shoot camera available to you, you must use that. If all you have is your phone, then those are the tools you have. That's what you have to work with. But I cannot tell you to use something that you have no access to. But I'm sure that there's a camera in everybody's house somewhere. So use that. Any question? That was a good question. Thank you for that question. Any other question, guys? No. Okay, so if you have no question, that means that you guys are super, super clear. You can find some documents in the website. You know that the website is where you have to go all the time. That's where you find things. Go there, and you'll find additional instructions. But basically everything you need is here. What you need to do is move. What you need to do is act and start taking pictures like crazy, and then narrow it down to your favorite one, to the best one possible. And that's the one you're sending to me. Okay? Okay, guys, then I'm letting you go. Have a fantastic day. I'll be seeing you in a couple of days where we will be talking a little bit about the history of cinematography, and I will be introducing you to the 12 most influential people in cinematic history. See you then.